Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Really glad to have this man back. It is U.S. Representative District 4 Republican, great state of Colorado. It is Greg Lopez. Greg, how are you? Good to see you.
Doing good, Joe. Great to be on your show again.
So I know that part of Aurora is in your district. Is it sort of split between 3 and 4?
Actually, it's between 3 and 6.
Okay.
That's where Jason Crow is.
Okay, so and Lauren Boebert is running for the seat that you have now, but you didn't want to keep the seat. You're not running for re-election.
I am not running for re-election. That's correct.
Okay, appreciate talking to you again. We talked a while back when you were actually going for the seat. I'm glad that you're the guy who's there now. We want to talk about what's going on in Aurora, because if the news media had us, had its ability to tell us what's going on, there's nothing going on. Nobody's taken over anything. Not a big deal. The mayor says, they're just making it up. The governor's saying, they're just making it up. What I noticed, though, Greg, is that none of these media types are packing up their gear and going to Aurora. Nobody's going there. We've all seen the Blink camera footage now that there are armed gang members going through, knocking on doors, taking over vacant apartment complexes. And the fact that the media wants us to believe, don't believe your eyes, believe what we say, really bothers me. I want to give you a back and forth between Martha Raddatz and J.D. Vance, the nominee for the Republican nomination for vice president. I want your thoughts on this. I know that you hadn't seen it before today.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border. Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting, because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said, rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again.
I mean, Greg, maybe I'm missing something. We're not supposed to believe our eyes from the Blink cameras. We're not supposed to believe J.D. Vance. We should believe Martha Raddatz when she goes, that's just a handful of apartment complexes. How do you react when you see that?
It's crazy. Look, not only do we have video, we also have a report from a law firm that was hired by the financial underwriter of these apartment complex that they gave to the mayor. They gave to the Aurora City mayor and the government and showed them exactly what they discovered during the investigation. So not only do you have video, you have a report from a law firm, and you have incidents being reported from the police officers and others, and they still are in denial. It's just crazy. Look, it's clear to me that they're so concerned about what the criminal activity that's coming to America because of the open border. Look, Tren de Aragua, which is the prison gang from Venezuela, is definitely in Colorado. It's definitely in Aurora. It is expanding, and this is a group of individuals that could care less about law and order. They could care less about our police officers. They're here to not only continue their criminal activity, but to expand it. Look, I got it from some very good sources when I was down at the border, that the Venezuelan gangs have decided that Colorado, specifically Denver, is going to be one of their headquarters to establish themselves in the United States. Even the Mexican mafia has already declared war on them because they're interfering with their operations. And this was an article that was written in the Washington Times. So it is real. And for them to deny it, it's just unbelievable.
It is Greg Lopez. He's District 4 Republican, great state of Colorado. Really appreciate you coming on, Lopez.House.Gov. First of all, it's train, and is Aragua, is that a city in Venezuela?
I mean, Tren de Aragua means train, and Aragua is the city. Now,
okay, that's what I wondered.
Right. They're supposed to build a train tracks through there. It didn't happen for whatever reason.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, the Venezuelan gang started developing the prisons, and the Venezuelan government allowed them to manage their own prisons. The gangs were managing their own prisons. So this is a mindset that we brought into America. Our communities are no longer safe. And for those that say they are, talk to any police officer. You will find out that here in Colorado, because we took away immunity from the police officers, the legislation took away the immunity from them. Now they're very selective because they don't want to be charged or accused of doing something that they shouldn't. Look, when Governor Polis declared Colorado a sanctuary state, and Mayor Mike Johnson of Denver is upholding Denver as a sanctuary city, this is what happens. Now, every city in the state of Colorado, specifically in the urban corridor, is having to deal with this type of activity, and it's starting to spread. And we got to stop it. We got to deport them. We got to detain them. We got to round them up, and we got to get them out. And that's what President Trump said he was going to do when he was in Aurora just Friday with his rally. And I think that really is the message that everybody is wanting to hear.
Representative Greg Lopez, we appreciate the time and the access. How about Trump going to Aurora? I felt that was a show of strength to show this gang we're not going to back down, and if I should win, you guys are in big trouble. I noticed that Kamala Harris hasn't gone there. I don't think Joe Biden's gone there. I don't think Tim Walz has gone there. What about that? Just showing face, does that mean something to the people there?
Yes, look, it means to people across the nation that President Trump has his hand on the pulse of what's happening within our United States. He understands the inflation. He understands the importance of closing the border and what happens when you leave the border wide open. He goes to Colorado not because he's hoping to win it. He's there because he wants the entire nation to recognize and understand the failed policies of the Kamala Harris Biden administration, as well as, her what does he call himself, knucklehead vice president. Can you imagine what's going to happen if those two were to ever get control of this nation? We'd become a third world country.
Yes.
That's exactly what they want us to be.
It is Representative Greg Lopez, District 4 Republican, great state of Colorado. Yeah, he couldn't load a shotgun over the weekend. I'm not sure if you saw that video, but he definitely is. There's something wrong there. I'm glad he calls himself a knucklehead. It's not me saying it. Tell me about the red card bill. What is the red card bill? How would this cut down on illegal immigration and make Aurora and all of Colorado and the United States safer?
The red card bill was introduced back in 2006. I think the timing was just off. We reintroduced it. We've modified it a little bit. But what this is a non-citizen work permit. This is not a path to amnesty. It's not a path to citizenship, but it allows us to maintain a labor force that we need as we continue to build and grow our economy. However, if you don't have a red card, you will be deported. We're going to ask you, why are you here? And if you're not here to work and contribute to our society, then obviously you're here for other reasons. I support mass deportation, like President Trump is saying. Look, when you have over 10 million people come on into our country over the last 4 years, that's an invasion. We don't even know who they are. They've lost children. They've lost children throughout the country. And we know that there's a high rise in sex trafficking, child trafficking, and all those types of things. So the red card would allow us to properly manage, once the border is closed, which President Trump is going to do, to properly manage the inflow of immigrants that are wanting to come here and work. And here's the deal, Joe, it's not forever. They have 2 distinct periods that they must apply to become citizens. If they do not apply to become citizens, then when that time expires, guess what? They get deported.
Yeah.
And we bring in others that want to have the same opportunity. So it is a foundation by which we can build on to make sure that we have a labor force, but more importantly, we close the border and we know who's in our country.
It is Representative Greg Lopez. I don't hate the idea, but see, here's the issue. Your ancestors, my ancestors, came over legally. They did it the right way. They went through the proper process that was in place, whether it be Ellis Island or something else. They did what they were told they had to do to come here legally. The people that are here, and they're in the labor force, I'm not saying they're bad people. They're doing jobs that Americans should be doing, and that would raise the wages, because a lot of these people, as you know, aren't getting paid, a good wage, because they know they could be taken advantage of. I think that it's also benefiting bad employers. So giving anybody the right to stay without going through the process that a normal immigrant would go through, is that a magnet or not, do you think?
Look, so what we need to do with this bill, it requires American companies to post for at least 6 months the posting of a job to allow an American citizen to apply and to get hired. If they can't find someone in 6 months, then of course, then they'll have to sponsor somebody. So these individuals must be sponsored to have a red card.
Good.
They don't just get a red card because they're hoping to get employment. They already have employment. So the bill is pretty extensive, pretty detailed.
Good.
But those are the highlights. And my hope is that, look, I'm not going to be there long enough to watch it come to fruition. But my hope is that we start messaging, we start planting the seed, and the 119th Congress will take it up and we'll discuss it. They'll mark up the bill, but it helps us look into the future on how we're going to manage the border.
I really like that there's a sponsor involved, because if there is, now there's somebody who's an American citizen who's on the hook to make sure this person is here doing the right thing and doing it by the law. It is U.S. Representative Greg Lopez. Let me ask you about FEMA lying its face off, and Karine Jean-Pierre lying her face off, and Biden and Harris lying about the funds that have been used. We know that in fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24 combined, $1.14 billion was spent on the emergency needs of people coming here illegally. They're lying about it. They're saying that it didn't happen. In fact, the Karine Jean-Pierre the other day said that Donald Trump did it, which is not true. We know that Mayorkas is lying. First he says he's out of funds, then he says he has enough funds, and then Congress gives them $20 billion more dollars. Greg, can you in a very simple way, because I'm kind of a dumb guy, can you make me understand exactly how FEMA funding is working and what should we believe?
I can tell you FEMA funding is being misappropriated. It's being abused. There's a lot of fraud going on right now within the FEMA funds. And so this is the types of things that occur when you don't have someone that is capable to oversee and manage an operation, manage funds that are coming from the federal government. Look, NGOs, right? They're giving money to NGOs, non-governmental operations that are helping these illegal immigrants, aliens come in and find housing and find phones and get food and be applied for all the benefits that American citizens are supposed to get. They're getting now. And so I'm here to tell you that when we funded the government and by passing the continuing resolution, we gave FEMA an additional $20 billion. Why? Because we knew the hurricanes were coming.
Yeah.
And for my understanding, they still have over 11 billion left in that particular fund. And they can also transfer money from one pot to the other pot, specifically when it falls under Homeland Security. And again, Alejandro Mayorkas is the one that's overseeing all this. So if he's failing at the border, he's failing with FEMA. It doesn't take, a rocket science to understand that right now FEMA is trying to cover their own path, cover their own tracks. It's all about CYA. It's not about providing actual health and benefits to the American citizens that need it the most. And we need to fix that.
It is U.S. Representative Greg Lopez. I had Matt Gaetz on last week, and Gaetz said there are $7 or $8 billion sitting in funds that whatever it was earmarked for is just not going to happen, and that money's just sitting there. But instead, people like Biden and Harris want to guilt you and say you've got to go back to Congress, when actually your job is in the district, is it not? They keep on acting like your job is in that chamber in Washington, D.C. It's not. Your job is to know who you're representing and what they want of you. So what do you make of that they keep on acting like Congress has to act or else we're going to run out of money, like it's your fault?
Hey, look, that's all they know about what to do is spend money, right? They want more and more money. Look, America today has a national debt of $35 trillion, and it grows by $1 trillion every 100 days.
Wow.
And so when they want Congress to just arbitrarily give funds again and, increase the budget themselves, they're basically saying we don't care about the American people. We don't care about those hardworking Americans that are paying tax dollars because we want to put more debt on their shoulder. So right now, there is no reason for Congress to reconvene because we don't even know the extent of the damage of these hurricanes. And the way it works, remember, I used to be the head of the United States Small Business Administration in Colorado. SBA has a disaster program as well. We work hand in hand with FEMA. And you're not seeing SBA screaming and yelling because they know that, they have to reassess.
Right.
They have to know what the damage is before they can even ask for money. And, if it makes sense and they're using the money correctly, Congress will come together and we'll do some oversight to make sure that, whatever additional dollars we are giving them, it is going to these disaster impacted areas, not to illegal aliens. And that's really the number one thing is that there's a lot of misappropriation going on right now in FEMA.
It is U.S. Representative Greg Lopez, District 4 Republican, great state of Colorado. Let me circle back to President Trump coming to Aurora, which I thought was a great show of strength. What are you hearing from the people of Colorado? Because my whole life, Colorado has been bluish purple, and lately it's been pretty blue. But I'm feeling like it might be purple again. How are you feeling out of the state of Colorado when it comes to November?
Feeling really, really good. Look, Pueblo County, which is down south in Colorado, it's predominantly 68% Hispanic. And guess what? they're seeing a sea of Trump signs all over the city, in yards, in front of buildings, in front of businesses. It's shifting, and the Hispanic community is going to be the leaders to shift Colorado back into being red.
Yes.
Look, how do I know this? I'm part of the Hispanic community, and I know what our values are. It's about faith, it's about family, and it's about freedom. Anything beyond that, they're sick and tired of drinking the Kool-Aid of the Democrats, and they realize now that that old mantra of the Democrats are for the poor and the Republicans for the rich no longer applies. Now they're really realizing that, it's about strong leadership, it's about closing the border, it's about having a strong military presence so we don't have Israel being attacked and we don't have all these wars going on. And that's what President Trump is going to bring back to the table is strong leadership with great character. He truly loves America. He loves this country. Kamala Harris does not. Neither does Biden. And you can see it by their policies.
And I think Walz probably loves China more. I call him the Great Walls of China. It is Greg Lopez, District 4 Republican, great state of Colorado. I think what you just said is really, really smart because Hispanics are like Italian, are like Italians, family, faith, love, a God, country, the whole thing. Hispanics, however, have been taken advantage of for a long time and been lied to for a long time by the Democrats, almost like the black community. Whereas they are more conservative, just human beings. They have fallen for the okie doke. I think they're awake now because Harris and Biden and others on that side think that Hispanics like illegal immigration. They don't. Hispanics who are here, who are American citizens like you, who have come here legally, people who are born here, the whole thing, they don't want lawbreakers. I mean, that's really the bottom line, right?
Look, it definitely is. Look, Joe, one of the most exciting things that happened when I got elected to go and serve in Congress for the remainder of the 118th, I got phone calls from prominent Hispanic organizations that are Democrat. There are strong Hispanic Democrat organizations that have reached out to me, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens, Servicios de la Raza, which was started by Corky Gonzalez during the Chicano movement in the early 70s. They all called me and say, hey, congratulations, Greg. You know what? We really are glad you're there. Finally, you know what? We have someone that understands our culture, understands what we fight for and what we believe in. We want to start working with you. Wow. We want to make sure that we are there behind you as you're moving forward with any legislation. So they are waking up. They are starting to understand that the Republican Party is more in alignment with their values, their biblical values, as well as their moral values than the Democrat Party is.
Representative Lopez, always appreciate the time and the access. District 4 Republican, great state of Colorado. Thanks a million, Greg. Let's talk again soon. Thank you.
Let's do it. Thank you, Joe. Have a great day.
You too. We're back after this. Stay right here.